it's so powerful that a campaign can change how a person thinks.
2019, we were at a very interesting crossroad to say, what more can you do in marketing? 2020 came and it said, change now. It has to happen or you are just going to become obsolete. So it is important that you don't get stuck to just one skill set.
What is that one thing or the resource that you learn from on a daily basis?
Some basics of marketing, like storytelling being at the center of it.
What are those problematic areas or the challenges that young marketers usually face?
When we look at or think about Gen Zs, the general perception is they are non-serious, or they don't take their career seriously, or they feel very entitled about things. Whole glamorized aspect of it to say, oh, I'm going to work on this big ass, marketing campaign and work with big people and all of those things. There's this farewell going on for this employee, and a millennial comes and talks to this Gen Z and say, how is it going to look on your CV? That before your first anniversary, we are having a farewell party. And his response, he very, very confidently says, I don't care how it looks on my CV. I know it's going to look great in my bank account.
Hi everyone, this is Shruti and welcome to the podcast called Brand New You. Here we will look at covering various aspects about young talent, how they can develop themselves within their organizations where they are dynamically revolving around the world of work. We will cover various aspects from the personal lives to the professional life and how they can basically develop themselves as a 360-degree persona of themselves. So stay tuned to the various podcasts which will revolve around this world of work. And this is especially for the young talent out there. Thank you. I would love to call on Sonam Dave, who is sitting with us today, and she's a marketeer, I think, from the past 15 years, and she's a marketing director and also a brand consultant. So lovely to have you with me, Sonam. How are you feeling today?
Good, yeah, good. And thank you for having me, Shruti.
Yes. I think we have been chatting a little bit long about, how to everything we love about marketing, right? And I think marketing is a very creative field, but it's also a strategic and a thought-driven field if you look at it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think a lot of people glamorize it so much and then forget that there is a lot of, the bits are saying, oh, I really need to be structured. Oh, I really need to be disciplined and need to have a strategy in place. And all of this are sometimes becomes those boring bits that they be like, did I sign up for this?
Yes, absolutely. But I think looking at the creative and the strategic part, Sonam, I would really like to start by asking you as to what are those problematic areas or the challenges that young marketeers usually face when they enter this field and, they are given a brand management role or a management trainee role. So what is that first role that they look at?
Um, See, I think in terms of challenges, what I've observed from people, whether they are people I mentor or people who are in my team, first is again, like I said, the whole glamorized aspect of it to say, oh, I'm going to work on this big ass, marketing campaign and work with big people and all of those things, which is true. But the background work and the admin work that goes into it to say, what is their reach? Is this person going to talk in line with the insights that I want to give to my consumers? What is the cost going to be? What is the ROI going to be like? All of those bits are difficult to ascertain if you're doing this for the first time. And they might feel a little overwhelming as well. They are not like the fun aspects, but the most important aspects of it. Other than that, I feel AI, while it is brilliant, should be used at the right places and stuff. I think sometimes it gets confused into saying, what can I really use AI for? And what I should never use AI for. Should I really use it to write content or should I actually do it only for the research? And, bits like that. I think it just becomes complex to say, because I can do everything, why not just use AI for it? So it's
Yeah.
in line.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you look at AI and if you look at, what the young marketeers are, learning today in class, of course, they have their case studies, etc. But when they come into the workforce, There are just so many other things that a person has to see. It's not only the ways of marketing, it's also what tools are there. It's also whether or not to use AI, especially the young force. We need to actually train them to see, okay, can you use AI to make your work faster? Or, can you use it to basically make yourself more efficient in marketing? So I think that's the question we need to ask, and also young marketers need to ask today. But I think you've seen this industry from the past 15 years, as you said. So just wanted to know from your perspective, how have you seen the marketing journey evolve or the landscape evolve as a function in itself?
That's an interesting question, and I think it'll be a very longish answer. But I think some basics of marketing, like storytelling being at the center of it, uh, not losing the creativity maybe behind your idea, and always focusing on consumer insights. I think those three bits have been essential, which is not, of course, changed. That's the foundation of marketing, which is not, thankfully, not gone out of the window. But I think what has changed is, when I started off with marketing, email marketing was the thing. And just to reiterate that I have been a B2B marketer all in all. And for us, I mean, emails were like that magic drug. You shoot an email campaign and you get tons of inquiries and you're happy and your targets are done. Or you do an offline event, because at that point, people would be like, yeah, I want to connect to this person offline. And there used to be those offline communities. I remember in my first role, my target audience used to be based in Africa. And for us, while social media was not the best alternative, we used to engage with a lot of offline communities of traders, offline communities of business people, and so on, which got us a lot of results. How has that changed now? I think 2019, we were at a very interesting crossroad to say, what more can you do in marketing? Can I push more on social media? So on and so forth. And 2020 came and it said, change now. It has to happen or you are just going to become obsolete. So everything changed from, not just doing email marketing to saying you're at the forefront of social media, not just LinkedIn, but you have to be an appropriate channels. It could be Pinterest for you, it could be TikTok for you, it could be Reddit for you, or it could be Quora for you. Um, AI came in. Um, Initially, it was like, can I search something here? To went on to say, can I optimize your paid ad space? So now, if I go on LinkedIn and launch a paid ad, LinkedIn is going to optimize the budgets for me, is going to optimize the creative and the content for me to tell me if it's going to run correctly or not. So that level of enhancement is happening at the tools end as well, which has drastically changed. Availability of integrated data. I mean, initially it was, I used to log in into MailChimp to find something around email marketing, or I would log in into analytics to see what's happening on my website. Now it's tools like, say, Minute Water or your FuzzBot. You have everything available at one place. So whether you have launched a social media campaign, a campaign on your a programmatic campaign, a campaign on your website, email campaign, everything is a consolidated result, tracking things almost to the last mile. And not say exactly, but almost to the last mile.
So I think it's like building agents, or basically workflows for you, which can be integrated via AI, that you can basically help it to make you work and make your either campaign management easier, also creatives, right?
Agreed. And also the data analytics that you get out of it, right? Because if you're running a campaign, but you don't know what do the results look like? It's tough to bring all of that data into one place, which is now changed and evolved so much. So that bits are something that has helped. Of course, strategy and bits have remained the same. And last, I think one of the most drastic changes that had happened are again communities, but communities getting built, which are hyper personalized, which are a lot of times hyper local, and communities that bring in so much influence for engagement and retention of your audience that it slowly and gradually starts to add up to your acquisition channels as well. So I think that's how I've seen marketing evolved. And also the people, right? Yeah. I mean, it's not only to say I have to do fantastic research or I write this brilliant tagline and we're done with it. You have all of your content creators, you have these young marketers coming in with amazing ideas to make things viral. All of those bits also have evolved over a period of time.
Yeah, I think looking at the channel bit, I think channel is one aspect or one ingredient which is like constantly evolved from your 2000s or before that to now, which is 2025. Over a decade, it's become. Firstly, I think it was very fragmented approach. Then we had personalization coming it, and now, as you rightly said, it's hyper personalization and also growing into the community aspect in the space of it. While, of course, the strategy has remained the same, I think the 4Ps has just changed to 7Ps now. But, teething that functional bit of the product out, teething the emotional bit, creating that brand persona still remains the same, I think. But communicating that brand persona through the different channels, I think that essence has definitely changed and I think evolved over a period of time that I think young marketers can just leverage. And I think gone are the days where we used to look at a print ad, see whether what are the analytics of this. We don't even know how much it is reaching the audience, who are seeing it. Yeah.
And did they really go and buy? But now you put a QR code and you know who bought from it. And a lot of times you are not even dependent on print. So all of those bits have drastically changed.
Yeah, I think it's a massive evolution that has happened so far. And along with our AI coming in and also making it more efficient. So I think that's a good aspect over there. But I was curious a little bit about the community aspect that you just brought in as to, earlier it was very hard to build a community model. And now I think more and more companies and startups are, inching on to community as their core space. Communities have come up not only in the personal space, like for example for women, or basically hinging on to certain interests like swimming, etc., or certain activities that one person wants to do. But it's also come, I think, in the professional space where people just want to come in a community, learn, or maybe community is just one aspect of your strategy that a brand just wants to build in and bring that cult as creators. But wanted to ask you on that front, which is your kind of a favorite community, or what aspect of community marketing interests you the most?
Um, well, that would be a tough one to pick because I'm part of multiple communities and for multiple reasons, right? Let me answer your second question first. What aspect of community building do I really enjoy? I think it is the first and foremost is identifying what is that common experience that you're giving everybody within the community. Because otherwise that community is going to fail. Um, like say if I am a new mother and there is a community of new mothers, then it makes a lot of sense to me because I know that there are going to be people with a shared experience as I have. But if it is a community which is like a dating community for single folks and I'm a new mother, it just becomes like a mismatched season. I know I'm giving like a very redundant example, but just to make things simple, to say that that has to be a shared experience. So first and foremost, building that shared experience. Do we really, as an organization, need a community? That's number one. Your customers might be buying products from you. Are they buying to satisfy just one need? Like if I am, say, I am a service organization and I'm a B2B service organization, and my audience is primarily accountants, and they are buying my service to, save adding new staff permanently into their system. Do I really need to build a community and provide them value, or can I make it a lot more easier by having meetups every once a while? That is the first question. So, identifying the premise, do I really need a community? And the second bit of saying, if I have built a community, how do I keep it engaged? Yes, by providing the right experience. And the third, of course, will be to say, are people who are part of my community deriving value by being in it? Are they finding answers to their leadership questions? Are they able to network with other women who are in leading positions? If I am somebody who's just stepped into a leadership position and I am looking for answers or guidance or mentors, am I finding them onto this community of women leaders? So, important questions. Am I finding that? Have I got the right people and so on? Adding numbers is very easy. Making it a shiny tool is very easy. But if you don't build the premise right, I think that's where everything starts to fall off. I think that's where my area of focus.
Just taking the last line that you said, that it's all about building that premise and finding out that why factor, as Simon Sinek usually puts it in his shows. Why is very important. And going to why, I will also like to touch upon a little bit on the evolution of marketing and going back to the why of the brand, right? Before we craft any campaign as marketeers, I know both of us have crafted multiple campaigns, and some of it are also close to our hearts and some of it not. So basically the first step is to figure out that why, and then that communication perspective or the objective comes out from that consumer insight, that when we do a consumer insight or dipstick analysis, we understand the why and then we craft the campaign. And then there are beautiful campaigns out there, if I were to name multiple brands, right? And coming out of a very beautiful insight. And it's so powerful that a campaign can change how a person thinks or how a consumer can, you know, think. And that's all about shaping narratives or shifting the narratives, right? So in that aspect, I think I just want to understand from you, which is your favorite campaign, and what perspective or narrative did that change, maybe for you, or maybe you learned it from someone.
Interesting. Um, can I quote two instead of one?
Absolutely.
So the first one that comes to my mind, and this is something that I really liked. Last year, there was this product marketing manager called Martha. She's based in Spain, and she lost her job. Now, 2024 wasn't it? Was a very tough space to be in if you are in the job market, because there will be a lot of jobs, but very less people actually got calls. The applicant tracking systems also made it difficult for employees to jump the queue and get in front of a hiring manager. So this product marketing manager was trying very hard to find a job, and she had tried everything, right from writing cover letters, getting referrals, applying on jobs and all of that, and she still didn't hear from a hiring manager. So she did what product marketers do. She created a video. If you look at this video, it's beautiful because it starts by her sitting in front of a coffee shop. Like, you'll see a background of a coffee shop, and she's sitting on the bench outside and says, "Hey, I'm Martha." The way you would introduce literally a B2B product to say, "Hey, I am XYZ, this is what the product does, and this is what I did benefit from." And that's how she crafted her entire story. What really hit me was that she converted that insight of saying, how do I really come in front of a hiring manager such that I get the opportunity to at least speak to them, converted that into a video, because videos were just beginning to trend on LinkedIn at that point. And she converted her problem into a story. She used all her skills of writing, creating the video, narration, and ended with a call to action to say, your free trial is over. If you want more information, talk to me. And initially, it didn't get a lot of results. She thought she's talking to herself or talking to her friends, etc. I think in over 2 weeks or 3 weeks' time, her video had 200,000 views. She got calls from close to 500 hiring managers across the globe. So now it is not limited to Spain. And within a span of, I think, a month and a half, she was in the front line for top 20 roles across the globe.
Absolute wonderful.
So
Yeah.
as a product marketing manager,
Yeah.
that's what you want, right?
Yeah.
Product in front of the right audience, your video leading to conversions, and you converting that one insight into a story and a call to action. That's exactly what she did,
Yes.
and also generated results. So I think it just hit me to say, we always get stuck into saying all product companies are doing this. Let's also do one more of it. Because slowly and gradually, product differentiation is reducing, but how you present your product or how you market it is where the differentiation now lies. So that's what she did for herself.
Absolutely. I think it's also about looking inside out, how Martha actually looked inside, saw what skill set she had, looking at that functional benefit, looking at, what's the emotional aspects that she offers, and, creating that pitch and then going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you touched upon a very interesting aspect of saying the emotional point of how people look at themselves. I think that also brings to my next campaign that really I had on top of my head. When we look at or think about Gen Zs, the general perception is they are non-serious, or they don't take their career seriously, or they feel very entitled about things. But if you look at this campaign that Naukri has done very recently, All for the Love of Your Career, it has and features Gen Z. and in an extremely positive light to say, sure, you want to take change just 1 year into your job. Absolutely, your choice. It's your career. You choose how you want to do it. And they chose to place it in that 20-second or 30-second gap for IPL, where you know that there's a lot of Gen Z audience, but they are not specifically looking for job related ads. So everything from so one of the ads that has stayed with me is there's this farewell going on for this employee, and a millennial comes and talks to this Gen Z and says, how is it going to look on your CV that before your first anniversary, we are having a farewell party? And his response, he very, very confidently says, I don't care how it looks on my CV. I know it's going to look great in my bank account. So it's your choice, right? Yeah, that depends how you want to shape your career. So everything from saying you have an insight about how Gen Zs behave, you know how they, make their jumps in their career, and which platform is going to help. It's Naukri.
I think that's a beautiful insight as to what a brand persona is. Naukri would have looked at what their brand purpose is and actually gone about and taken that positive stance to change a particular narrative. I think that speaks wonders about whoever was or the team behind the campaign.
Agree.
Yeah.
And also the fact that IPL is no longer linear TV. From when it started to now, it runs on CTV, it has OTT and your linear TV, all three channels. So the kind of audience that you're tapping into, you are going to find on all of these three networks. So easy to tap into Gen Z's. Yes, say, yeah, sure. This is where we are. Would you, create a thing?
Absolutely. I think, but hinging on to this point that, such massive scale campaigns, as you just said, that, channels are evolving. It's an era of personalization, hyper personalization, to be fair. But looking at all of this, I think it's so many skills, I think, that a talent in this space needs to do as a brand marketer or in the marketing function. So from your experience, what are those, skills that one needs to develop as a young marketer to thrive in this space and also maybe outdo themselves?
Uh, I mean, okay, let me not say I don't think it's one skill, because there is. Uh, I think a lot of marketers today want to think that they should be specialists. Um, I would say it should work in a way that, yes, you should have a specialist marketing skill. That should be your strong suit. And then you have an additional skill, which may not be a strong suit, but something you continue to develop and work on. And the reason I say it is the space is evolving very quickly. So today you might say that I am like, there was this trend in between where people used to say, I'm a prompt engineer. So if content writing is a skill that you have, hone on to it.
Mhm.
So having one central skill is very important. And having a secondary skill that can really lead and help you thrive into very competitive teams. Because I don't think even larger brands now are rethinking the structure of their marketing teams.
Mhm.
And I know I've said AI too many times in this conversation, but also AI is making inroads faster than all of us had expected. So you would know that, okay, you create one design and AI can create iterations of it. Sure, there will need, a human eye to ensure that it's done correctly. But yeah, it still is reducing a lot of the repetitive work that we used to do. So then what is that one skill that's going to make you stand out? Is it writing? Is it content creation? Is it research? Is it right use of AI? Is it design?
I think picking up from our conversation, I think you're talking about this halo skill set or basically bringing your own persona. And it's basically one central skill that marketers should have. It might be content, it can be, making creative strategies, it can be creating personas, whatever that skill is. And also maybe you're very good at picking up that hinge, that customer insight, and also maybe very good at collaborations, because I think marketing is also a space where you collaborate a lot, maybe with agencies, with partners, with houses that you need to also, that's also an art. So whichever that central skill, hold on to that, and then you keep building the secondary or the tertiary skills, which basically adds on to your persona. So whenever I think somebody looks at Sonam, they would say, okay, the primary skill is maybe content, and the secondary skill would be, crafting social media strategy, or, crafting that entire brand strategy. So I think that's what you're we are basically saying, right?
Yes, yes, agree. And because I feel the need for t-shirt marketers is going to increase and is never going to be out of you know, fashion, for the lack of a better word. So it is important that you don't get stuck to just one skill set.
Skill set.
Having said
Yeah.
that, if you are somebody who is an SEO specialist, you would now have to enhance and become somebody who is able to do AI optimized content as well, as to how do I get my content featured in AI searches. So enhancing is also something that will be required. You might be a designer and might not move to drastically start writing content. Sure, that's fine. But design is not only limited to saying I will only do static. You can always do more of video. You can say, how will I generate AI generated images that look way more relatable? How do I hop onto the next trend that's going to come?
Yes, but looking at that, I think there are a lot of resources now available where one person can get trained at, and also maybe network and learn one to one as a peer. Do you have any resources in your mind, or you look at maybe from a book perspective, or you read books, or you basically look in the internet, or you network? So, what is that one thing or the resource that you learn from on a daily basis?
Uh, I don't think there's just one resource, but there are multiple. But I think one thing I really like is HubSpot's Training Academy. The kind of content that they create is brilliant, because as a young marketer, I would have questions about saying, how do I really do AI optimized content? What should I cover when I start to do my SEO strategy? And the kind of blogs they write, the kind level of detail that they give is amazing. It's almost like, like a mentor hand holding you to say this is how you should be doing, and doing it on the job. So I think I really like that resource. If I was just starting out, that would be my go-to resource. And they also have these little templates and stuff which you can easily use. Um, I also like this podcast called Marketing Against the Grain, again by Kip Botner and Karan Flanagan. They talk about everything from saying what are the kind of marketing strategies you can craft if you are a digital only marketer, or how would you survive when the economic conditions are not great, or if your product is going down, and things so on and so forth. It's not just your typical responses that you get on a Twitter thread, but more like in depth, like almost breaking down the entire strategy and saying, here you go. So I think those two have been like really stayed with me for the longest time. So would highlight that.
Yes, I think that's brilliant. And I think if you look at the resources, I think now there are podcasts, there are books on marketing. There are also networking clubs in your own city as well, wherein you can go and listen maybe to a favorite speaker or a leading marketeer for an hour or so, and then you just get imbibed into the community aspect that you spoke. So I think there are multiple levers now. It's an over information era, and I think they are gifted. The young marketeers are gifted that they can, while on the go, they can listen to a podcast, while they are in the train, they can read a book, and there are multiple aspects that one can do, and keep their engine of information ongoing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shruti, I had a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Uh, what would you recommend a young marketer to do or to think if they're just stepping into marketing?
I think if a young marketer is just stepping into marketing, first thing I think the advice I would give is to soak in, because there are multiple levers. They're just introduced to the brand because I'm sure they would be getting one brand in their first day of the job. So first thing is to just do a good research, in-depth research about the brand itself. How has the brand evolved over the years? What are they working on? What are the communication aspects of it? What are the campaigns that have, or that have been done? So basically a good secondary research to start with, because that basically gives you content to think further. So I think research and also self study in depth is really, really important. And I think as they move further, I think very important is to network amongst their own colleagues, because I think in their office they would find their marketing director, their supervisor, different mentors, different good marketeers that they would find. Also, maybe in the allied functions, need not be in the marketing function, maybe in the creative function, procurement function, other functions. So just do like a dipstick in the next 2 weeks to understand and get the pulse from everybody as to how can they help you, how can you help them, get that synergies ongoing. understand that, and then it takes you about a month to soak in the synergies itself. And then of course are the that is the time, after a month is a time wherein you can propose a strategy, understand, is to always go back to catch a mentor, and always go back to that mentor to sort of understand whether they are in the right direction or not. Always take in that 15-20 minutes on their calendar, even if they're busy, maybe schedule in a one-to-one weekly, and just to see whether they're on the right track or not. And then get that specialist skill, the first skill ongoing, and then maybe in the future months get the secondary and the tertiary skill, as you said, roped in into their marketing brand as they create.
Very interesting. Makes me think of a follow question, because if I was a young marketer,
Yeah.
my follow question would be to say, should my mentor be from the same team, or can I learn from people from different teams as well?
So I have a very interesting answer to that. So I think there should be two mentors. One should be from the same team, and the second person should be completely non-related to the team that you're working on, because it gives you two perspectives. One is, of course, gives you a strength in your daily work, because the mentor in your own team will be invested in what you do, because he or she will always give you insights as to your real work. And then one person who is completely outside from the team, because that ability to give you an outside in perspective becomes stronger, and then your thinking dimension only becomes wider and wider. So one to go into the depth, and one to go into the breadth of thinking, so that gives you a good marketing exposure, I would say. Yes, absolutely. But I think we have had a fantastic time in this podcast, and thanks for agreeing to interview with us today. And I think one aspect to the viewers that I would say, that the marketing landscape is ever evolving. It's not only AI which has come in, it's also the use of channels, it's also the use of technology as to how to make it more efficient, etc. But we also discussed very key aspect today of how and what the young marketeers should think. Should they just come in and deep dive into the marketing ocean, as they say. So I think powerful insights today. I hope the viewers would also like it. I think with that, I would also urge the viewers to like, share, and subscribe the podcast, and let me know and let us know what better content that we could create for you. Maybe in the comment section below, you can just plug in as to which topic in marketing or in the young talent aspect that you would like to see. But I think that's a good sign off from the podcast called Brand New You, and hope to see you again.